And I got to get myself all pumped up to do this because I'm not in the greatest space right now either. So,
Okay.
give it a
That's
shot.
where your acting. That's where your acting ability comes in.
Yes. Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Okay. Then let's go.
Hello? Are you ready? Yes. Then we'll begin.
It's a holiday Monday, but that doesn't stop us one bit. Welcome and good morning to Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 42.
6:30 Monday morning. I'm here hiding in my bed. A song plays on my alarm clock as I cover up my head. Somewhere in the distance, I remember yesterday.
Yeah, I remember yesterday, and I'm so glad today is a holiday. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to yet another rousing edition of Monday Morning Catholic. I'm your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier, Director of Religious Education at St. Martha and Mary Parish in Lakeville, Massachusetts. And if you're here with us, you know that each week we're taking a look back at the previous weekend's liturgies and trying to make some sense out of it somehow, some way. And I have two of our three panelists. Thank you, Nancy. You are away and hopefully enjoying your wonderful vacation. But I have with me from down south, Steve Romano, Director of Music at Our Lady of Mount Carmel in Bristol, Rhode Island. Good morning, Stephen. How you doing today?
Good. Happy Columbus Day.
Yes. For those of you who are not in this country, we celebrate the guy who sort of, drove the boat over here and found us. That's what Columbus Day is all about. Other than if you live in New England, it's leaf peeping time. And of course, my cohort in crime from about 3 streets over, Linda Reed, Director of Music at St. Thomas Parish in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
Good morning, Joanne. I'm doing fine.
Oh, good. We all slept in, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's my biggest treat on national holidays.
Yes, because no one has a funeral.
That's right. Not today, anyway.
Yeah, because no one wants to pay the grave digger overtime.
Overtime, yeah.
I haven't had funerals on Columbus Day, but I have played weddings before on Columbus Day.
Oh, my.
Really?
Yes.
I don't think I ever have.
At least 2 or 3. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would think you do it.
I played them on Columbus Day weekend, but never on actual Columbus Day.
Yeah, we had somebody I would say about probably 10 years ago, got married at like 2 o'clock on Columbus Day.
Oh,
yep.
Jeez.
Oh, okay. And think that they would do it on Sunday so that it could all recover on Monday.
Yeah. You would think.
Yeah, one would think, unless were they Italian, Steve? I hate to ask that question.
Yes, yes.
Watch it.
Yes.
No, I know that. I mean, I'm outnumbered here.
And actually, I think one of the readings was proclaimed in Italian, actually.
Aha. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And then I sang Columbo, row your boat ashore, instead of Michael, row your boat ashore.
You
so
serious?
We're off the rails already. Yeah.
Tell me you're kidding.
No, I am
not
kidding. I'm
kidding.
kidding.
Good. Thank God. Yeah, because I'd be a little nervous if that was the case. Because we haven't done that wedding podcast yet where we get to say the things we've actually have sung.
Oh, yes.
I know.
That will be part of it one of these days when we can put this thing together. And since we haven't gotten any feedback from anybody, I don't think anybody's really interested.
No, maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll just pass it by.
Maybe we'll just do the funeral one and have it done.
Oof. Well, we could, but, I'd like to do that. I seriously like to do the happy stuff first.
Okay.
Really would like to, because I think there's more laughs.
Yes, there really are more laughs at weddings.
Laughs. Okay, in the
Actually, when you hear my pastor's homily today, you'll kind of get a little preview.
Yay! Oh, this is going to be good. All right. Well, I will say this much: it doesn't warrant its own segment. We did not get any feedback this week.
Boo, boo.
Nothing. No feedback. No. But our friend John from Yakima, Washington, did manage to send a few of these our way, and I've got to get them to the rest of you because we're all, as musicians, we all like to see what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
And this is the program from the Silver Jubilee of Ordination to Priesthood of the Most Reverend Joseph Tyson, Bishop of Yakima.
Ah.
So this was his priestly ordination anniversary. And I must say, there are some things in here I have never seen before, and,
Wow.
which is great for musicians.
Yeah.
Good thing. And so it's not always the same. And it's completely bilingual. Now, one would not think that Washington State would actually be bilingual territory.
You don't think that much, no.
But everything is bilingual.
Wow.
So John sent us enough for the crew, and I will make sure that you all get them, because
cool.
I don't know if you're like me. I have a box full of those things, and
I know, just to to see what everybody else is doing. I like to see what everybody else is doing.
Me too, because I hate doing all this in a vacuum.
And I never get to go anywhere else because I'm always at my place.
Exactly, and these
I think we're all the same when it comes to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all just, here's where we are, here's what we know, here's what...
One weekend a year I get to go down to Baltimore and see what my sister's church is singing.
There you go. There you go. Although yesterday, speaking of Sundays, I was at my own place.
All right.
There were actually 3 homilies today.
Oh, gee.
So we're really happy that I actually have a homily that's not canned. So that's a good thing.
I actually have 2 homilies again.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
You're just an overachiever. You're just an overachiever, Steve.
I just got 1.
If I had a chance, I could have gotten 2, but I had another meeting after the Mass, so it was one of those things where I could either prepare for the meeting or I could run over and hear a second homily.
Yeah.
Prepared for my meeting. But what we're going to do, if you haven't already grabbed your favorite cup of whatever, come on, we're going to take a look at our readings from this past weekend and see if we can make some sense out of it.
Do you hear what I hear?
I'm going to be so sick of that song by Christmas, it isn't even... I just thought I'd say that because
that's actually one of my favorites, and we do like this really cheesy arrangement of it. I love it. The choir loves it.
Well, let me tell you something, Steve. When somebody actually does it for Christmas this year, I'm going to bust out laughing for some...
Well, actually, I think we're probably going to do it. So if you come to my concert, you'll hear it. You'll start laughing. So.
Oh, gee, probably. Well, we'll do the podcast from there, and they can all sing it.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. All right, so do you hear what I hear for the 28th Sunday in Ordinary Time that we just passed? Our first reading kind of echoed Advent a little bit here with the Isaiah 25 reading on this mountain of the Lord, but of course I think we used that one also for funerals. Yeah. So it was one of those end time / Advent prequels.
I really like it too. Because it gives you a little glimpse into Hebrew poetic language. One of their favorite devices is parallelism.
Right.
And so you have a banquet of rich food and fine wines, juicy rich food and pure fine wines. They want to make sure
that one struck a note with me. I could picture a nice steak.
Yeah, you get the very best.
I wasn't exactly. I was just thinking big fancy party type.
Oh.
The very best of stuff.
Yes, and it's nice when you get all of that rich language.
Yeah.
Out of the Old Testament scriptures, it's really nice. But for me, it smacked more of Advent, I think, more than funeral for some reason with me.
Now, you two ladies are more scripture scholars than I am. The excerpt for funerals does it come after this or before it? You know, the one that it's
Well,
you know?
You look it up.
they no they they talk about the banquet on this holy mountain.
Yeah.
The Lord has prepared a banquet and a veil over all the people.
Yeah.
That's all part of the funeral reading.
Yeah, okay.
They may
Yeah, I
not
guess
they may not do that last part.
that's what I mean. Yeah, okay. Okay.
But the juicy rich food and the veil over all the people
That shows up, doesn't it?
that shows up in the funeral reading. Yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm looking it up. You know that I have the liturgist is looking it up.
See, now, being of the Italian descent, I would say that would be appropriate for the collation after the funeral. So.
True, very true. Find that stupid thing. Here we go. I believe they do chop a little on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just curious.
Yeah, what they do is they chop a feast of rich foods and choice. They take that whole choice wine thing out. They go straight from the horde of hosts to the veil. He will destroy the veil that all people. So it just omits that one line. And it's somebody, and so I'm on a website right now called Catholic Sensibility.
Oh, gee.
And this is exactly what it says, and you just said it. I don't know why the lectionary editors omitted the portion in brackets above. Maybe the juicy, rich food and pure choice wines won't be served in the parish hall after the only casseroles and lemonade. You know, I cannot endorse this site, but I have seen it before, catholicsensibility.wordpress.com. They seem to be okay, but I'm not endorsing it, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
It was the first thing up on Google that I could immediately kind of into. So, yeah, it's almost basically the same. If in Advent or for this reading, you'll get the juicy fruits, or maybe they were thinking of something else. And for funerals, you won't. So, but another one for funerals is Psalm 23. However, it wasn't the Lord is my shepherd refrain. It was the I shall live in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, which is the alternate. And I kind of like that. How many of you did Shepherd Me, O God?
At the responsorial psalm?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I did it for communion.
All right. Yeah,
and I also Marty Haugen was talking about Shepherd Me, O God. You know, he also has a nice piano arrangement of it in a book. So I played that before Mass too.
Yeah.
So,
that's right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, how's that piano going?
Oh, I love it.
You're loving it.
You know, because a lot of our music, you know, Joanne, as a pianist, a lot of our music is piano based.
Yeah.
And I've learned to adapt it to the organ, but it's really at home at the piano.
Yeah.
So
it is.
And,
it is.
Know, I would say that I do a few things on the piano and a few things on the organ. I do both, you know.
Sure.
So
that makes a nice
piano.
texture.
And you know, it's funny. The first few weeks that we had the piano, the singing kind of went down a little bit, but I think it's because it's not such a forceful sound as the organ.
Well, that's just it. To hearing it as,
and I think their voices
play it as
right, and their voices are a little bit more exposed to each other since it's piano music. So I've noticed. What?
No. Like they should hear each other sing.
Oh yeah. So I've noticed I've noticed now over the past.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I've noticed over the past few weeks, the singing's coming back up again. So
good.
I think it took them a few weeks to just say, okay, it's okay that it's softer, more gentle sound, and but we'll sing anyway. So no, it's good. It's good. Thank you for asking.
Let me ask you a quick question. Does your assembly chant well?
No.
But
I also think that it's part of our acoustic is not very live.
Okay.
I mean, you've been to Mount Carmel. It's very small.
It is.
And I don't. I'll admit I don't do too much chant. I probably should start doing more, but to me, part of the chant is you need a building that will sing with you, and it just doesn't do that. So.
Well, I think part of it is
Yeah.
congregations that are used to listening, hearing themselves unaccompanied,
Yeah.
do a lot better with piano than they do if they don't. And I know
Yeah.
that you're a true organist where you will play the organ at its marking, at its dynamic mark.
My organ teacher used to tell me I play with intent.
Yes,
Intent
you do.
or intent.
You do.
Intent.
You play with intent.
Intent.
Okay.
Well, it's I don't tickle the organ. I shouldn't have said that, but you know what I mean. So. No,
Let's
Joanne
rewind.
actually chanting, yeah. For Advent and Lent, we'll chant the Kyrie, and the people do pretty well, because if I'm alone, let's say at 7:30 Mass on Sunday morning, I'll intone it as the cantor, and then I let them answer, and and it's funny because the first time we do it, they kind of fall.
Yep.
And then they say, "Oh boy, I guess it's us."
Oh, I guess we got to do this.
Yeah, and so.
So they'll get better with the piano, I think, in subsequent weeks. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. It's
They might have
very
just
nice.
been
Thank
listening-
you.
They might have just been listening to the sound of the piano too, Stephen.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And I try not to make it too schmaltzy, because there's a fine line between liturgical playing and
schmaltz.
playing down at the local bar, I guess.
Right.
And
it's called cocktail cantering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before. All right, going on to the second reading, which was again continuing in Philippians. We had an event mass today as part of our Generations of Faith, and I will say that much until I get to the homily part. But I remember when I was talking about the scriptures, I honed in on this particular, I used the second reading because of the line, I can do all things in him who strengthens me.
Mm.
And I was I wanted to make sure it wouldn't get lost because my homilist didn't touch that. Didn't touch Philippians at all. But I think that's such an important line for today's Catholic Christians that it needed to get highlighted, pulled out, so that you can understand, that God never abandons you. Unless you're not wearing a wedding garment, he throws you out.
Yeah, he throws you out, yeah.
That happens. But I have an interesting take on the wedding garment thing when I get to the homily. I'm so happy I have one. And Matthew 22nd, the 22nd chapter of Matthew was the parable of the wedding feast. Now, there's a couple of wedding feasts in scriptures.
Yes.
And this one, I couldn't remember because the only things I hear I hear two songs in my head. One is by the Medical Missionary Sisters from a very long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
No, because I don't remember anything from the Medical Missionary.
I cannot come to the banquet, don't trouble me now. I have married a wife, I have bought me a cow, I have children, commitments.
I think I pushed that to the back of my mind.
Joanne, was that in the People's Mass book? Or?
No, absolutely not. I had a record. I had a record, a vinyl record.
A vinyl record, yeah.
Yeah.
I was a child. So it's the one I remember so well. And I can still sing it today. I was singing it when I was 6 years old.
I was singing. I pushed that, but I remember as soon as you started to sing it, I remembered it. I just must have buried it in my subconscious somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. The other one is Marty Haugens from, that lovely one with the telephones and that he does in the Gospel of Luke.
Luke, yes.
Yeah. So those are the two things going on in my head, and I'm trying to remember which one of these was the actual.
Which banquet was it? Yes.
Yeah, which banquet was it? Because I've heard there's a couple of different ones in scriptures, but this one's kind of cruel because this.
Oh.
People
talk about overreaction.
Well, on both sides, people are beating up servants, and then people are hand and binding people who don't have wedding garments on. So it was a little jarring for the little kids this morning. Like, what?
Yes. It's a very difficult gospel unless it's broken open for you.
Mm-hmm. So let's start breaking. Who wants to break first?
Well, our guy did a pretty good job, and since I only have one homily, I'll start.
Okay, and since I missed it, I'd like to hear it. So
Okay.
right ahead.
So he began with, he said, I don't know about you, but he said, I do a lot of weddings, and I've seen a lot of wedding garments.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he said, I can understand why the king might have been upset.
Mhm.
He said, I've seen some things at weddings in church that probably wouldn't even be appropriate for nightclub wear. But at any rate,
Ooh.
he said, today's readings, though, he said, are not about clothes that you wear to a wedding. In fact, it's at first glance, we might even say that this parable is really unfair. And of course, we would.
Mhm.
The poor guy, he's invited at the last minute. They drag him off the highways and hedges and bring him in, and then they throw him out because he doesn't have the wedding garment. You know, what's the deal? And he said, you know, none of this is about clothes you wear to a wedding. He said, perhaps the man had the wrong kind of garment on. Perhaps he had a garment of indifference or a garment of can't be bothered or a garment of lukewarmness as opposed to the other people who were brought into the hall. He said it's the same with us, and the invitation God is always offering to come to the feast, that wonderful feast that was described in Isaiah. He did bring the first reading in.
Oh, good.
That God is feeding us with the finest food, the richest food, the choicest wine, and the best feast we could ever have today, which is the bread and wine of the Eucharist.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, how often do we come up with our excuses that prevent us from coming to the feast?
Ooh.
The kids have a soccer game, or a baseball game, or a dance class. I'm too exhausted after a long week of work and I want to sleep in on Sunday. Hey, I said my prayers, God understands. Many are invited, but few are chosen, or as a friend of mine was fond of saying, many are cold, but few are frozen.
I was waiting for that.
Yes. So just as we mentioned, he said he kind of went back to last week's, and he said, as we mentioned last week, God does not force us to accept His invitation, but He will also never withdraw the invitation.
True.
And that many of us often say we're going to say yes to the Lord, but we only say yes to the invitation. We don't follow through with the garment.
Okay.
And that that's perhaps why the person was thrown out with the gnashing teeth at the end, because he said yes, he would come, but he didn't follow through with the garments of willingness, the garments of what other garments did he talk about? He did 3 or 4 garments. You know, the garments of commitment. That was one. You know, perhaps this is why the man was found wanting. And so he said, you know, let's check out our garments and see which ones we might have to get rid of and which ones we want to put on.
Now that was interesting.
Yeah.
Sound a little Mormon there for a minute, but no offense to my Mormon friends, but couldn't let the joke go by. No, it sounds like he, and I'm glad he got the first reading in. But I said nobody was going to touch Philippians, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and you know, you could have touched Philippians because Paul is talking about living through abundance,
Right.
living through nothing.
Right.
You know, so you kind of could have woven that in. But hey, you know.
Yeah, but hey, we're not homilists.
This
We don't
was
play
good.
them on TV, so we're not.
We don't play a homilist on TV.
That's my line for everything. I'm not this. I don't play it on TV. Well, thank you. I did miss something. I would have loved to have seen him talk about the weddings. Just
Yes.
so expressive.
Yes.
Talking about weddings.
He was. And Lord knows we have seen it.
Oh, right. Yes, we have. See, we've got to do the podcast.
Yeah, see, I have stories, but I'm not going to clog up our time right now.
No, don't clog up our time right now.
Don't do it. Don't.
Save it.
We really want to do this. You've got 2 homilies, Steve. Go for it.
Yes, and they're both they both involve stories.
Uh-oh.
So the first one was Father Colello, and he did 2 of our masses this weekend, and he prefaced it by saying, you know, so often we neglect the invitation, we neglect the opportunities in life. And he said, here's an example. This young college guy came home late one night, you know, after being out with his buddies and stuff, and his mother said to him, don't forget to go in and say hi to your grandmother. And he said, well, Ma, I have a lot to do. I have a lot of work to do, coursework to do. I'll talk to her tomorrow. Well, I guess, you know, during the night she passed away unexpectedly. So you know, and so his thing was, how many times do we say, well, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll get to it eventually, you know? But he said, you know, God calls us to be many things in life, and we have to find the time, and it's no longer excuse time that you know, we miss so many invitations, and then we have regret. So he said, you know, it's just important that we take our gospel mission seriously, and rather than say, well, I'll get to it later, or I'll help that person out another time, we need to do it sometimes at an inconvenience to ourselves. We need to do it in the here and now. And his was very short. Actually, the responsorial psalm we sang this weekend was longer than his homily, because I timed it. So,
wow.
But but you know what? He gets his point across, and everyone kind of goes, you know.
Yeah.
And he said and he ended it with this. He said, I'll end with one statement. He said, our lives should be a sermon to the witness of Jesus.
Wow.
And yeah, that was his take on. Again, he just touched the gospel. That was it.
Okay.
And then Father Zeno, our pastor, had 2 masses, and
back from Rome,
and he looks good. He said he ate his way through Rome, enjoying all the pasta.
Nice.
So I think he said he was headed over to the gym after masses today. So, and he told a story about he coined it 2 unlikely gospel names, but 2 names enveloped in gospel virtue. So he talked about a fighter pilot from World War II named Butch O'Hare.
Okay.
And he talked about he was on a mission, a fighter mission, and for some reason they forgot to refuel his plane.
Oh.
So he's taken off now from the carrier, and this is in World War II, and he notices that he doesn't have enough fuel. So they ordered him to return back to the carrier. But on his way back, he noticed in the distance there were some Japanese kamikaze planes coming.
Uh-oh.
So he set his sights on them, and after some fierce battle, the Japanese retreated, and they turned back, and he actually won. He won the Congressional Medal of Honor way back when, and then the following year, he actually was shot down in combat.
Ooh.
So that was sort of, you know, the first unlikely gospel name, but gospel virtue of, you know, integrity, of virtue. And then he told the story of Easy Eddie, who was Al Capone's lawyer.
Easy Eddie.
Easy Eddie, and he was Al Capone's he was Al Capone's lawyer, and Al Capone took very good care of him. You know, gave him money and a nice compound where he would live. But he had a son. Easy Eddie ended up having a son, and he knew that defending this mobster was not setting a good example for his son. So he actually ended his employment with Al Capone, and eventually actually testified against him.
Wow.
Which the following year, after he testified, well, we can guess what happened to Easy Eddie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, he said he was gunned down in the streets of Chicago. Yeah. And he said, but you know, his desire to live a life of integrity and virtue and was paramount. And so his courage really won out in the end. And what was the connection? Well, Butch O'Hare was the son of Easy Eddie.
Oh.
And actually O'Hare Airport is named after him in Chicago. But he said, and he said, you know, you might be asking, well, what does this have to do with the gospel? And he said,
I was just going to ask that question.
Yeah. And he said, but, you know, it has everything to do with the gospel, because all of us are invited to live lives of integrity, but we have to come prepared. And we have to want to live lives of integrity, but it takes a lifetime to do it. And, you know, he said, our good deeds, whatever they may be, might be just what somebody else needs to change their life forever.
Oh, wow.
So he said, that's how we become heroes in God's kingdom. He said, but it takes a lifetime. So.
Wow.
So it was kind of twists and turns, but you could tell he was all fired up from being away for 10 days in Rome. So. So.
I was really wondering where it was all going. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Well, because, you know, last night I'm upstairs taking notes, and I'm thinking, what is he doing? You know? And then he connected it. So it was interesting. So you know, it's interesting how we all share.
Stories are always good.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how like you just said, Joanne, how everybody takes a different path on these gospels.
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, even as we record, I have not seen Father Barron's.
Oh no, I haven't either.
All right, so wasn't just my podcast catcher that didn't catch it.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Which is unfortunate. He must be in the synod doing something.
Maybe.
But I was glad that we had. I was able to be in Lakeville today, and our deacon was preaching. Now, we have two deacons, and they do preach on a rotation with the presiders, because again, our situation is very different. We're a collaborative where there are 2 priests, 3 churches, and we also have our friendly neighborhood fill-ins. So that's why the deacons actually get involved in preaching, so that the folks so the folks can hear their men. Yeah. So I think it's a great thing. He was going down the road of trying to show how the banquet that we come to every week, the Eucharist, is what this whole wedding feast is prefiguring.
Okay.
And that it needs to be a joyous occasion and not just one where you kind of show up or find an excuse not to show up. And he used some kind, I did not know this story, I had not heard this before. It was something about, I think it was, hopefully I'll get this right, either he was at a convention or somebody went to a convention, and the speaker gave them, I guess, all balloons. And as the mass was going, or as the service was going on, whenever they felt authentic joy, they were supposed to release the balloon. And come to find out at the end of the experience, a good number of people still held on to their balloons. So if he said, if I gave you all a balloon, would the same thing happen here? Now I was thinking that's a very dangerous thing to do.
Yes.
You know, but he went on again to explain how people are called. You know, we are called to, because he does a lot of work with the RCIA. So people, you know, people are called to come to the banquet, and some turn it down, and some are not sure what to do. And he said, and we have to look at the guy. He said, because this looks very weird to us. The man who was not dressed correctly. He said, in those days, if you were invited to a banquet, being dressed appropriate was the most important thing. Okay? And if you could not afford it, it was the king's responsibility to provide a garment for you for that occasion. So no one had an excuse. So that's why when the king says, "Where's your garment?" he couldn't answer him, because he knew he should have asked for it. Okay, he said it's the same way with us. When we become Christian, we are to put on a new garment. You know, and we have to ask the king for it.
Yes.
You know, and if you're not wearing that garment, what have you done with it?
Really, yeah.
So I really got into that whole aspect of it, which I thought, and I had not heard that before about the wedding garment.
Yeah.
Not I missed that, or whether or not I've never studied or ever had to speak on that before.
No.
Because a lot of times my scripture knowledge comes from having done RCIA, having to research, you know, the scriptures to open them up, to continue to open them up for folks. And I hadn't come across that. So that was a totally new one for me. But it makes sense, because if the banquet is foreshadowing and God is putting everything in front of us and it's the best, yet we're not ready for it, then what happens to us? You know, he's giving us and he's even providing the garment.
Yeah.
You know, like there's like no excuse. So it made, I don't know how it worked on the folks, because this was for us the first event mass that we were having with our Generations of Faith families. And yeah, it was a pretty heavy homily. And I think most of them I like the fact that he explained the garment thing, because I'm sure kids were sitting there going, well, they bind him and throw him out. I don't get it. But, you know, it was just, I wanted to go just a little bit lower for the kids, just a tad, because there were quite a few of them in there. Yeah, yeah. And it's, you know, and there were gifts on the wall. Their activity was to put on a gift, on the ribbon, their family name, and then in each one of the spaces, what they bring to, you know, what's their gift from God, what they know of. Whether or not it was the first one, because we've never done it before, you know, but I was kind of like, okay, this is really good, but I just want a little bit something more for the kids. And I think about that a lot. I think there are a lot of homilists who aren't sure what to do with children. They're all there.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a children's liturgy of the word yet. That I would love to see one, because I think sometimes little kids really need that. Yeah. Yeah. You know, because this would have been one of those times where explaining it would have been a good thing. But I do know that we did do some explaining in that in Generations itself. But the tie-in for me is to try to tie it into Mass. Yeah. So even though we've done a little bit of explaining of the gospel, you know what I mean? It would, I don't know, but it's what happens in the rotation at the collaborative. Yeah, yeah. If we had gotten our pastor, it would have been like, you know, larger than life. If our associate had spoken, he would have, and this is nothing against the deacon at all. I like the deacon.
Because it sounded like it was a very thoughtful homily.
It was. It was. I'm just saying, it was just me sitting there going, I hope this didn't get lost on the little ones.
On the little ones, yep. Yep.
That's all. I know you can't hit everybody. It probably got lost on grandma somewhere in the
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody takes it in differently.
That's right.
But I give him a lot of credit because tying it in that way.
Yeah.
And using Isaiah again, but not using Philippians. It's just that I didn't want to ever let that Philippians line go.
Well, nobody ever. I shouldn't say nobody, but let's say 98.5% of the time.
Right.
Homilists do not preach on the second reading.
I know, and sometimes it's the second reading that has some of the good stuff too.
Well, and the thing is, the second reading sometimes is so convoluted for lectors to pick through.
True.
That we don't even get the sense of the reading because
right.
It's just a really difficult thing. Although we do have one lector who always wants to read the second reading, and he does a really good job with it.
Good. At least this one fit. I've got to admit, at least this one did.
Yeah, you could have woven it in if you really wanted to.
Now, did your priest do the long version of the gospel or the short?
Long.
Yeah, long.
We all got the long version.
Yeah, we had half and half.
You had half and half. Okay.
Father Colello did the short.
The short, which is only about 5 lines.
Yeah, Father Colello though.
Yeah, and to me, that's the whole point, is the last 5 lines.
Yeah.
But what do I know? I'm not the boss.
That's right.
You got to set it up though.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you only give them 5 lines, they've just stood up, they moved the pocketbook over here, they picked the kid up. By the time they get ready to listen, it's over.
Yeah. I just ask, especially like in today's gospel, why they would give that option of just cutting off those last 5 lines.
Yeah.
Good question. I wouldn't know on this one because unless
I'm sure in their wisdom there's going to be a reason, but
I'm sure if I looked harder at it, I'd be able to hypothesize something.
Well, they probably wanted to give the homilist a break and say, okay, you can just talk about being invited and not taking advantage of it.
Right.
Rather than having to go into the garment and the national.
Yes, and many are called, but many are cold, but few are
frozen.
So you don't flip over the words, exactly. Well, what did your homilist say? You heard what ours had, but what did your homilist say? That's shameless plug time for we'd like some feedback. So please, if you want to send us some feedback and you're on our website, mondaymorningcatholic.net, you can use the comment boxes below the entries. mondaymorningcatholic@gmail.com is our email, and I've had a lot of problems with my email in iOS 8, so already talked to Apple about it. It's the only thing that got knocked off my my iPad and my iPhone. So, but if you send it to Gmail, I usually get it, which is a good thing.
Yes. Okay.
Facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. When we put stuff up, please comment.
Yeah.
I put stuff up, and I know you're talking about it, and that's the local people.
Yeah.
Come on, comment. Okay, we can use it. Or if you really want to get brave, you can call us on the voice feedback line, 774-955-0659. We won't use it if you don't want us to play it, but I can put it on the cart and I can actually play it. So up to you. Okay, Stephen is gonna bug out in a bit, but that's why I want to move on quickly to our next segment, because I want to get his input on this one in the segment we love to call about liturgy and ritual. It became a Facebook post, and I think it was Stephen's Facebook post, but it was also in Pray Tell.
Yeah, I just shared it. Yeah, I shared it in Facebook.
We all shared it.
Yeah.
About singing the glory to God every week. Okay. We've talked about the glory to God before and the new version of it, and how it's, like to see people agreeing with me. Thank you very much that people agreed with me that it's very hard to sing. And then, because I think a lot of people thought that because they're still trying to record it in 3/4 time, which doesn't fit anymore. But I'm also interested in some of the comments that I saw about people not wanting to sing it every week.
Yeah.
Because that concerns me. I am all for singing it every week. I've never been around gentlemen who've wanted to sing it every week. So, and I mean, I'm glad that we do at St. Thomas, but we don't in Lakeville. Oh, no, we do. I'm sorry. I have to read. We do.
Stephen.
I apologize. I was thinking of another parish. We do sing it in Lakeville. We do sing it in the collaborative. So we are singing it. And we're like in the collaborative. In Lakeville, we're using the Gloria Simplex, which is Prue. I know that Sacred Heart in Middleborough is using the Mass. It's Ken Canito's Mass there.
Mass of Glory.
Gotcha. They're using that one. So we are singing it every week. And I know...
We're singing it. We sing it every week.
You're not, Steve, right? Is that why you put it up?
No, I just saw it and I wanted to take a poll of our local musicians. I was kind of hoping more people would comment, but I don't know, maybe people are too busy, or because with our Facebook page, it tells you who has seen it.
Right.
But I was hoping for a little bit more feedback, but oh well, poo-poo. So,
yeah.
And you know what? When I see those people,
poo on you, then you know.
You know what? And when I see those people, I'll deal with them directly. But
yeah.
So, but no, I mean, I know. You know what? I've never really pushed it, to be honest with you. We sing it Christmas season, Easter season, holy days, feast days. I do agree, Joanne. The 3/4 time thing.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
We do David Haas's Mass of Light Gloria, which was not a reteach to them. It was I introduced that after the rework, and everyone loves it. The pastor loves it, but the verses, they're tough.
Tell me about.
And it's also very long.
Yes.
Now
the way the translation is now, almost any kind of refrain Gloria is very long.
Yeah,
I did order one. Yeah. I ordered one through GIA, and it's actually a remake of I think it was in the 1970s, the Gloria for a new Mass for congregations.
Oh, that's
the one we do.
That's the Lee, yeah.
That's the one we do.
Right. It is. Glory to God in the highest, and peace to.
No, this one isn't. It's not chant. It's glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to people of good will. We praise you. Different. We bless you. You know what? I don't know. I should have known that. I don't know. But it's through Composed, and it's about 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You timed it.
Oh, I did, because I wanted to see if that might be something. So I ordered it, and my plan is to introduce that, and that will be our regular Sunday Gloria, if you will. Since it's not that long. But that's kind of my next focus. But you're right, Joanne. It was interesting. I know I think it was George that might have commented that he's run into the whole it takes too long issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it's not surprising.
The problem is that it's the required hymn.
It is a hymn. Yes.
As a hymn.
Yeah.
So, and if I could do the whole liturgist thing and say, and the reason why it's there, boys and girls, is because before there used to be a mass of the pre-catechumens, and they'd all go do the word somewhere else, and then they would use the Gloria to come into the church. We dismiss them, and everybody else would come into the church. So, I mean, I could go that whole thing, but it gets lost in this ritual now that we have. So if you want to use it in our terms, you've got that little entrance antiphon, if you'd ever want to just have a choir sing that while they gather, and then once you turn around, this is the hymn of the assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I agree. Some of the settings of the Glorias, they overshadow the opening rites. You know.
But it's supposed to. It's there because it's not just there for scenery.
I mean with some of the settings that have such a lengthy setting.
Oh no, I know that. Yeah,
I mean it can be 10 minutes between the opening hymn and then when people sit down.
And I'll tell you.
John Foley told something on himself. He said while I was waiting to interview him, you know, when we did the interviews at the convention, when I was waiting to interview him, somebody came up to him and said, "Are you ever going to revise your Gloria for the new translation?" And he laughed. And he goes, "We'd never get finished it."
Good on him.
Oh, Linda, is that that
give
was glory
to God in the highest.
Yeah.
That one, and that's long in the old translation.
And she's saying it fast. Have you ever heard the original recording?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Glory.
Yeah, I know. I don't do it that way.
You never get done.
I never
that
did
was
it
actually
that way.
was a St. Brendan's favorite back in the day, I think.
But we did it. We did it. You know, we did it a lot. We did it for a long time.
But
you know what? And I just remembered, Joanne, the composer is Carol Andrews.
Okay.
Okay, I know.
GIA. Yeah.
That's a rewrite.
Yeah, it was from like 1974, and he rewrote it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mourn the passing of the Mass of Light original Gloria because it was actually very nice. I used it for years.
Yeah.
And I had to play it in September when I was subbing, and oh my, I mean, I love David Haas, and he must have been pulling out what was left of his hair to try to rewrite, get all those darn words in.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, it is a shadow of its former self, and that's why I can't. I you know, the more I looked at the Glorias, the more I saw they were all in 3/4 time. And
well, that's, you know, it's like, Joanne, I loved and we loved, the parish sang it well, was the Jones Gloria.
Oh yeah.
There's another one.
And they knew
anymore.
Yeah. And I actually ordered from OCP. I ordered the revised one copy. I wanted to see it of the revised Jones Gloria, and I wouldn't dare do it because it's dangerous territory because of the revision, where everyone just knew when to come in before. We did it for years.
Yeah.
So I also did see Peliquin's revised Mass of Gloria of the Bells.
I don't even want.
That was it. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know.
It just doesn't fit well, you know, again, because we're used to singing it the old way.
It's iconic. It's iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
Do it now.
So,
it was 6/8.
To get back to the original question about singing the Gloria,
right?
As opposed to reciting it.
Let's bring us back.
No, well, I went. You know, I've done everything from, you know, 3 masses a weekend, clear up to 6 or 7 masses a weekend, in my youth. And I was, yeah, I did quite a few there. But, you know, I would just observe the congregation singing the Gloria. Now, this was supposed to be this grand hymn of praise. And everybody's out there shifting from one foot to the other, going to glory to God in the highest and peace to his people on earth. And I thought, this is ridiculous. We're going to do something. So this was when there was a pastor at our parish who was amenable to this, and I said, this is what I would like to try. I would like to try doing a very simple chanted Gloria every week. And I sang it through for him. I said, it might take 30 seconds longer than mumbling through,
right?
You know. And this we started like 20 years ago.
Wow.
And yeah, and so they knew the Lee Gloria. That the congregation would know it. All they'd have to do is ring the bells, and it was like Pavlov's dogs. You know, they knew it. And so I was really distressed when the changes came, because this was something that the congregation really owned. And then we had to learn it all over again, which they did a rewrite of it, which I was grateful for. And we did, and now they're singing it. Right now we're doing a different setting of, it's the Byzantine tone that I did a rewrite of, because nobody else was going to do it. So I just did a rewrite of it. But then for feasts and major things, we do a bigger Gloria. We actually do the Gloria from Junkas's Mass for John Carroll, which is a nice, strong, Gloria in excelsis Deo. It's a nice, strong...
it is. It is.
So that's the one we do for fancy times.
Which is not the hiccup Gloria that he wrote for a while.
The hiccup Gloria.
You ever hear? I call it the hiccup Gloria, and you kill me.
Go?
Oh, we talk about Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria.
Oh yeah. We did that one too.
Yeah, I call it the hiccup Gloria. Sorry.
We tried that one, but it was too long.
Yeah, it is a little long. I like it.
Yeah.
It's just that, that little rest there that always say it's a hiccup Gloria.
And on that note, I have to go play a mass at 5:30, so I have to leave now.
Poor baby. Okay.
Don't miss me too much. Okay.
We will.
Thank you, Stephen.
I'll see you next week. Okay.
Bye, Stephen.
Bye.
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 We knew he was going to have to go, and we're, and now that we suspend the fact that we record this on Sunday.
Yeah.
I was really trying to keep the Monday thing going there, but well, no, it's this whole thing with the Gloria. It really is the primary hymn of the Sunday of the Sunday worship. It's taken out in 2 seasons for particular reason.
Yes.
Usually supplanted with the penitential rite instead.
Yes.
To tell you what's the liturgy tells you what's most important in itself.
That's right. And for Advent and Lent, it's the penitential rite.
Right. For the rest of the time, it's the Gloria. So we should be singing that, on a regular basis, and we should be if we're using grandiose opening hymns, which some people like to do, then we should keep our Glorias short and sweet, because we don't want to upset the apple cart. If you're using smaller, opening hymns, then use a little bit bigger Gloria. But I like it through composed rather than refrain. I do now, because I think it's teaching the assembly, when they have to say it without music, to know the words.
Yes.
Because they don't.
But you know what? I can't. I have to sing it in my head.
Me too, right now. Right now, yes, we have to sing it in our head, but that's how we learn things. Remember, I just sang for you a while ago a song I learned when I was 6 years old. I still remember it. It's the same thing with all of this. They will learn it as long as they keep singing it.
Singing it, yes.
But again, when I get to the liturgy stuff, it's like the liturgy tells us what is most important and what is musical.
Yeah.
And what isn't. And I know musicians don't like to hear that.
I know, but most musicians, if worth their salt, have looked at music in Catholic worship with the liturgical judgment, the musical judgment, and the pastoral judgment. No,
I understand that. I just feel that some of them still don't understand that the liturgy, the ritual, is what guides all of this.
Well, yeah.
That's
maybe they just don't understand that there's a reason for dropping the Gloria or not singing the Alleluia, or
Right. And we pray on the first Sunday of Lent. No one's going Alleluia.
Yeah, I know it happens.
All right. Someone I am now working with said to me, because I walked in their office and I was already hearing Christmas music. I said, "You realize I'm a liturgist."
Shoot me.
I didn't realize and this person said it's going to get worse.
No.
But look, I said I have a lovely list of Advent hymns.
Yes.
You know, it was like,
crying out loud, it's not even Halloween.
Yes, but I've never heard good Advent hymns. I'll give you a playlist.
Yeah.
Of Advent music. But I was just, and it was funny, and it was just so funny. I just had to, Christmas? I know that song. I was like, it wasn't overtly Christmas. It wasn't like Let It Snow. It wasn't like, it was religious. But I knew it, and I knew it was a Christmas hymn, and I was like, what? Seriously? But this person loves Christmas. Okay, fine. Float your boat over there, because I'm not going.
Well, I love Christmas too, but not every day of the year.
But you know what? Sometimes that's, oh, come on. And we're the ones playing, you know.
Do you hear what I...
Yeah. I told you, by the time I get to Christmas this year, I'm going to rethink maybe we should rename that section.
We're not doing that this year, so...
Thank you very much.
We won't be doing that at St. Thomas.
Good, I appreciate that. The other thing to note under liturgy and ritual, well, we just had the feast of John the 23rd.
Yay!
And coming up on the 22nd is the feast of John Paul II. So this is
our two newest saints.
That this is the first year we can actually do their optional memorials if you're there for Mass or if you're doing Liturgy of the Hours. So it was kind of nice with Papa Roncalli and JP too. So it was kind of this is good year for that kind of thing. Thank you, Pope Francis.
Thank you, Pope Francis. Yes,
for doing that. Yeah. Do we want to do anything else, or we just want to call it? We'll do one more. We'll do one more quickly.
What's left?
The technology and evangelization section known as Can You Hear Me Now? And this was one that I had put off from last week, and I wanted to bring it back up because someone I know had started this on their Facebook page about how welcoming is your parish, and it was all over because I was in the genesis of that whole thing. It was all about I would think a parish is so wonderful if they have a changing table in their bathroom. And I had to, and this is something that we're doing in Lakeville because we have this they put in a handicap bathroom, but Religious Ed took over the front end part of it, the big room part of it before you get to the actual bathroom, and used it for storage.
Oh.
And when I walked in, I went, "Can we take all this out of here and put it in?" As my first thought.
Yeah.
So, and we haven't gotten to it yet because I can only get to so many things in 12 weeks. So it was not. It's not that I need the area either. I just need to shift.
Yeah, sure.
But shifting of everything. There's been so much stuff to shift. That stuff hasn't left there yet, and it will eventually. But that's what the genesis of all this was. Dom Bettinelli was looking, because he has 5 kids, was looking for, I consider a parish hospitable if they have a changing table. And I'm sure a lot of other parents think the same way. So Simca Fisher over at the National Catholic Register did an entire article on how welcoming is your parish. And I think people think that parishes, there's a varying degree on what does it mean to be welcoming. Okay? And she puts up a couple of things, I guess, that they covered, but also things that she's talking about. One is there's a rack of about a dozen short, clear, visually attractive pamphlets explaining church doctrine. I'm sorry, that's not something I would consider being hospitable. But here's one I do. They offer a huge variety of religious education for people of all ages. And that's something that I'm striving for, starting with Generations. But
that's the whole point of Generations, isn't it?
It's the main point of Generations, but I also know that Generations, you can invite everybody to Generations, but they don't all come to that either. It's sort of like a wedding feast, but so you need to, in my last incarnation, not only did we have Generations, but we had varying degrees of other things. that were happening, and tried to keep it up with Bible studies, with church history study, with book clubs, with that kind of thing. And I know in the collaborative we have something called Why Catholic, which is both for people coming into the church and people wanting to know more about their faith.
Mm-hmm.
That runs concurrently. They do have Bible studies. They do have, so it's one of those things where I see as a welcoming parish. Okay. Of course, there were greeters at the door. I really think you need a hospitality crew and not just standing there, handing out bulletins, because you shouldn't be handing out bulletins. People come into church anyway.
That's right.
Read them during Mass. They're not taking them home. They're reading them during Mass.
Yeah.
Reading them, saying, hello, how are you? Is it your first time here? Can we help you in any way? That I like. There is a variety in the style of liturgical music. Yes, 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 and more yes. Because I don't think there is just one style anymore that you can say is exclusively Catholic.
No, not at all.
That includes chant, because the Anglicans do chant.
Yeah, that's right.
We can't even say anymore the chant is just Catholic. The Orthodox do it, the Anglicans do it, and high-minded Lutherans do it. So,
Well, like I said, the Gloria that we're doing now is based on a Byzantine chant.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Case in point. So, there has to be a variety of music styles, and not just this Mass has one and this Mass has one. It needs to be all in the same Mass.
I really dislike that. I think that fractures a parish.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
When you have the all high church organ Mass at one, and then you have the Life Teen.
Yeah.
And then you have, the little cherub choir singing Carrie Landry. I just think that
you go there.
Well, it's exclusively. I just think that fractures a parish.
Yeah, because and it needs to be a melting pot of.
Yes.
I think because that's authentically expresses what's in a parish, who's in a parish.
That's your music director has to have that feeling of hospitality.
Exactly. And again, it's a all of these, if you notice, are hospitality issues.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, so is the rehearsal before Mass.
Yep.
Because why would you expect them to come and do something that you have not prepared them to do?
Exactly.
So I think the rehearsal is a hospitality issue.
And I think things like, we've got to keep those laminated cards in the pews, because we don't know who's a visitor and who isn't.
That's right.
And one that I saw, a clear sign outside that tells when Mass and confessions. And I think making sure that there is not just one time for confession a week. I'll go even that far, because I know it's a very underused sacrament. Okay, but you're making it even more underused when you say confessions are 3 to 3:30 on Saturday.
Yeah.
In fact, everybody's going to change their schedule for that. If you can only have it at that time, then you should say, or by appointment, please call.
That's what it says in our bulletin.
You need that type of thing, because people won't make the effort if they don't know that they can't get a hold of you.
That's what it says in our bulletin.
Yeah. So if you want to see this, it's at ncregister.com/blog/Simca Fisher. I will just put it up on our site.
Yeah.
Spelling Simca is a very interesting way of. I'm not going there. But if you want to read, she writes really nice stuff. And when she saw Dom's post and then took off from there. But I think, we all should be looking, especially if we are trying to, foster intentional disciples, as this is part of our thing in the collaborative. We've got to be intentional about all this stuff. We can't just say, oh, yeah, it'd be nice if we could. No, we have to do these things. We have to have welcoming every minute. We have to be.
Sometimes you have to look for the inroad, because I watched a movie last night. Okay. It's a really, really old movie.
Oh wow.
with Gregory Peck.
Oh my, that is old.
Yes, and he
To
was
Kill a Mockingbird.
No, that's not old. This was old.
Oh.
His Gregory Peck was just a youngster. He was playing a missionary priest. Okay.
Okay.
And he goes to China. Now,
I've seen this movie.
He's there and he's trying to get people to come, and the only way the Chinese guy tells him that the only way you can get people to come is if you give them rice.
Wow.
Because they're not going to come otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So he's slogging along, trying to, put together a church and put together a congregation until one of the town officials' children falls ill.
Ah, okay.
His friend had given him some medical supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I'll go, but he said, I'm not a doctor, So he goes, and he has enough sense to know that the child has an infection that needs to be lanced. Long story short, he gains the respect of the town official, and that's his inroad. And then he can start preaching the gospel to them.
There you go.
And so all these things that you were mentioning about having a changing table and a bathroom for handicapped, these are all inroads for people.
Yes.
That, you don't think have anything to do with church, but you got to get them in.
Right.
And then you can talk to them.
Agreed. So if you're interested in looking at that article, it is up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic, or I'll put up the other information so you can go there directly if you're going on our website. I think we're going to call it at this point.
Works for me.
Because we're still running over an hour anyway.
Oh, geez. All right, let's go.
Running over an hour. No one's giving us feedback. I don't know what to think.
And I have to go cook supper.
Blow the illusion yet again that we're recording on a Sunday and not on a Monday.
Yes.
But that's okay. It's a holiday weekend, and we're just going to enjoy the holiday weekend. Well, thank you, Linda, for sticking with me.
Sticking with you, yes.
I appreciate that. I thank Steve Romano for dropping in as long as he could.
Yeah.
And come on, guys. Let's get some feedback going on here. Seriously. The rest of you. There are some folks who are giving us great feedback, but we need the rest of you. So come on. You all post on Facebook. We see you. Post over on our Facebook page, okay? So until next week, thank you. We pray for us. We'll pray for you. And ciao for now.